All right, it's Gym Crashers Live coming at you today. This is our 4th of July edition. As the holiday does approach, we will not be here that night, so we're conducting business as usual, just a little beforehand to make sure that we have something to put out. I'm coming fresh off of my visit with the guys out at CMMA Southgate, CMMA Gardena, and they're rolling out there at Southgate Park. There's a picture of it just behind us there. Myself, Miguel, Colton from De Lo Jiu-Jitsu, and then a whole bunch of other guys, including Chad George and Mike Hermosillo from CMMA. And it was awesome. It's a day in the park. It's a representation of jiu-jitsu for the kids that are on the street that need somewhere to go practice and do things that are not street related.
That's awesome.
Give them something positive. And this is the second one. First one was in Watts at the Watts Towers. This is Southgate Park again. And the next one will come up July the 29th in Redondo Beach. And we'll get that address to you if you look at the Instagram for CMMA or for gym.crashers. We'll be posting that very shortly. But with no further ado, we have my good friend and wrestling coach for House of Gyms, Gabe Hinojosa.
Hello, hello. How's everybody doing out there in cyber world?
Awesome to have Gabe here. He obviously here on a special occasion, being 4th of July week. So appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. That's awesome that you guys are doing this for the people that aren't able to kind of fully commit to jiu-jitsu or even have the funds to do it.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that later.
No, we're absolutely in it. Since you bring it up, those guys out there. So, we're from Orange County.
Definitely.
And we're blessed to have dojos and training centers and academies and gyms. They're all over the place. Mick dojos, they just pop up and then they're gone a couple months later.
Right.
Uniquely to the area that they're at, very close to South Central, Watts, Southgate, Linwood, there aren't any mixed martial arts dojos.
Right.
So you're not getting jiu-jitsu. You got boxing.
Yeah. Got some boxing, maybe have some kickboxing stuff around there. Yeah, I've kind of ventured out that area in the past, just with some old teammates, and yeah, you definitely see that. You don't really see too much of within the MMA field. You see boxing, you see maybe some karate or even Muay Thai, stuff like that. Right? But that's really cool that they get the chance to experience the beauty of jiu-jitsu overall, right?
Yeah.
I know coming from myself, my brother and I, we focused in Costa Mesa. We're both from Santa Ana, but we did focus a lot in Costa Mesa because of the high schools that are out there, with Estancia and Costa Mesa High School, and we worked with a gym out there, South Coast Kickbox. No longer there, unfortunately. It has a little bit of issue with funds.
Things move on.
Things happen.
Right.
But we were fortunate enough to kind of do something very similar to what you guys did, where we really helped with focusing on kids that weren't able to either have the funds for training or didn't have the proper role models within growing up. Going into junior high to high school. Single parent families, stuff like that, and what you guys are doing, I think, is fantastic overall. Kind of giving them that outlet.
It's the guys at CMMA. As for my instructor, John Dello, I know he takes care of kids that come in off the street, and he takes care of whatever their needs are to make sure that they can train. So it does happen all over, but these guys are doing it out in the community where people can see it, and it's free. Yeah. So if you see them and they're doing it, don't hesitate, because they expect you with a gi, without a gi, you just come over and train. So that's always cool,
Beautiful.
Yeah, I dig what they're a part of and what they're doing out there. So especially in the areas that need it most.
Right.
We're kind of blessed to be over here where there's so much. Over there, you don't even see it at all.
No, yeah. You go out anywhere, you can go across the street and you'll find something, Usually within a mile radius, you'll probably find maybe 10 gyms.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. We're all competing for that same business. That's right. Definitely. There was a big fight with Bellator over the weekend. Did you catch it?
Unfortunately, I did not.
That's all right. That's all right. We can't catch them all. There's fights many days out of the week.
Yes, they're like every weekend.
And they double up.
Yes, they do. So I did not catch them. How were they?
Well, they were great fights. The one that stands out, I don't want to go through the whole card because that's not what this show's about, but Alima McFarland, she is the Hawaiian representation from Oahu, as my producer Robert is from. So it's a big deal that she came out, and her opponent, Alejandro Lara, was a girl that's known not to tap. And I thought this was going to be a slugfest, but it ended up being a one-round armbar.
Oh, there you go.
And it was just, it was basic, some technical ability that just was not escapable. Alima put it on her after softening her up with some blows, got her to the ground, and it looked like Lara was going to get away. and then there was just a little bit of movement to try to escape, and bam, she nailed it.
Oh wow.
One round. So if you
go.
catch that on the rebound, if you can catch it on YouTube or whatever it is, it's worth watching, especially if you do jiu-jitsu, because her technical ability is amazing. She got somebody that's known not to tap, and that's a tough thing to do.
That's that transition game,
Right.
right? There you go. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Awesome.
How many times have you gotten to a rolling session? You're like, I'm not going to give up my arm. We never want to give up our arm,
Oh,
but someone
yeah.
will take it from you eventually.
Definitely. Yeah, if you're rolling with some guys that are pretty legit, it's kind of hard to keep your little T-Rex arms in. Yeah, I've had that happen plenty of times throughout my times of rolling, and it's one of those where you think you're going in it, not going to get tapped, and like next thing you know, whoop, tap city.
Yeah, and better to tap and live to train again than to be a tough guy and maybe strain your arm. Somebody may not break it, but you strain the ligaments.
Right.
You tear something, and then before you know it, you're 2-3 months out.
Definitely.
Producer Robert, you got an idea in your head?
No, I just remember the first time I started training, and I didn't want to tap, and we're just doing drills, and one of my training partners got really mad at me because he saw my face turn purple, and he told the other guy to let it go because it was a 3-man rotation, and they told me, bro, just tap. It's just a training. It's just a drill. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to get into a habit. And he goes, habit your ass. If you don't tap, you might shit yourself. How you want to be shit, boy?
Yeah.
It's like telling you like
That's
you could crap
there
your
you
pants.
go.
Like,
True.
oh,
Yeah, definitely.
Then once I heard that, I was like, never. I'm like,
Right.
I'm tapping.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to be is crap my pets.
Well, training is just that. You ought to tap so you can learn what they did to get you in the first place. If you hyperextend something, if you break something, again, you're not going to be training very long, and then how do you progress?
Right. I've always been told from my NamFam was my actual jiu-jitsu coach,
Yeah.
and there's no pride in jiu-jitsu. So if you're able to tap, if you have something with your arm, if it's a choke, maybe you can kind of tunnel vision a little bit here and there, but you're able to kind of still
Sure.
wake up, next round, keep going. If you have an arm hyperextension of a joint, then you're pretty much done for about
Yeah.
maybe 2
Ankle
months.
lock,
Or so. Yeah, ankle
knee
lock,
bar.
even more.
Right.
So yeah, definitely no pride in jiu-jitsu. If you need to tap.
Yeah.
So that
It's
tends
good
to happen,
advice. Good
definitely.
advice coming from the coach right here.
Miguel caught me with the Kimura once that jacked my shoulder up for about
Well,
3
he
months.
is the Kimura master. He gets them from every angle, from every position. He's got those monkey arms, so it's what he does. So I keep my arms close when I roll with him. But Mexico, Brazil coming up. I don't know. This is a transition a little from jiu-jitsu, but
Jeez.
such an important thing with Brazilians being jiu-jitsu based,
Exactly.
right? And Mexico's
Oh.
coming up in the MMA world.
They are. So Mexico versus Brazil tomorrow should be a pretty intense game. 7:00 for those of you that are hopefully watching that
AM.
thing. 7:00 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to wake up early
Russian
to make
time.
sure. Yes, exactly. Russian time. I know I'm from Santa Ana, so my neighborhood, my block, they've been going crazy. Especially when Mexico beat Germany, it was a whole block party out there.
Yeah.
So tomorrow's game should be very intense. It's Brazil's always favored because they've had so many victories overall
Sure.
in the World Cup, but Brazil they're not playing as well as they should be playing. Mexico is playing pretty decent, so
Yeah, they're on point.
They're on point. So it's just a matter of who shows up. Who shows up tomorrow, I think, is going to be important.
It's a bummer that it's a Monday. I'll be at work, but I have a TV in the lobby area where I work, and I will be on that TV.
I have work tomorrow as well. My program manager, she's Brazilian, so we're both going to get up early. We're going to go to this little cafe that's next to our
Perfect.
work, and from 7 to 8 we have class. I'm an instructor, so we start class at 8:15, and we're make sure we're there about 8:00. So hopefully get everything in. We won't see the results until we're probably done with class. So,
Dude, if people don't watch soccer normally, watch the World Cup because it's very much like the
Exactly.
Olympics. People are
Yeah.
representing their country.
Definitely.
Even more so because in soccer, they don't come from other places.
No,
In the Olympics, they seem to be buying athletes from other countries. Or
Right.
something's going on where they're not necessarily from those places, which it baffles my mind. Boggles my mind.
Definitely.
But with the World Cup, it's been awesome, and it's been like a country versus country thing, which I love more so
Right.
than any other matches.
Right.
And Mexico loses to Sweden, which was unheard of. I didn't expect it to happen at all. And Korea bumps Germany out.
Mhm.
And then you see people in Mexico marching to the embassy for Korea to thank them.
Which
That's
they
how
should be.
thankful the
Yes.
Mexican people are.
Yes, they should be.
So
yes.
instead of having carne asada, it's Korean barbecue tonight,
Exactly.
tomorrow, and the next night.
All about Korean barbecue that night. Yes.
You know it. You
That
know?
was funny because everybody once they were down, you could see everybody looking on their phones just watching the results of the
Right.
Yeah.
Korea game, and all of a sudden Korea scores a goal and everybody's like, oh, wait a minute, and then they score another open goal and they're like, okay, we're in.
Right.
We're
It's
in.
huge.
Yeah.
It's so huge, and now we're in the the final stretch here, so the games are more intense. I watched France versus Argentina yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Intense all the way through. France bumped Argentina out. Was not expecting that.
Right.
So it's just awesome. The level of sportsmanship and the games are just getting real deep now.
Right, Russia and Spain was this morning. So
Yeah.
Russia took Spain out. So yeah, you're used to seeing these high level Argentina, Spain, Portugal, and Germany. Usually the teams that are advancing and they're gone. This is not a betting man's
Heck no.
soccer World Cup, because
Yeah.
if you were, probably be losing some money right now.
Yeah, it'll
So,
cost you. It'll
yeah.
definitely cost you. So you tell me you're from NamFam. Where did you actually start fighting? Did you do karate as a kid or do some wrestling with your old man? How did it start?
No, to be totally honest with you, I was a lazy kid growing up. From what I can remember, all I did was eat food and watch TV, play video games.
It sounds like me as an adult.
That's pretty much where I'm at now. Right now, yeah, I'm 35, and I feel like I just want to watch video
Oh,
games.
you're looking good, man.
Play video games and eat. But yeah, I didn't really do too much growing up. I grew up with my mom and my grandparents, and my grandma was one of those very protective grandparents, which respectfully, I really respect that. Growing up now
Gives you a good
as
foundation.
a parent, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, definitely. I keep my kids from doing crazy stuff, but
Or worse yet, there's crazy stuff out there in the world. So
Definitely.
we got to keep them close, right?
definitely. So I grew up with basically going to school, coming home, eating. My grandpa was really big into sweets. I would go watch some old school John Wayne or Charles Bronson
Yeah,
movies with them.
those are good.
We would
Love Charles Bronson.
Exactly. We would munch on cookies and M&Ms. And when I was in junior high, I was probably 7th, 8th grade. I was probably about the height I am now. I just stopped growing,
Yeah.
which was crazy. I thought I would be like 6'3" growing up, but I stopped close to about 6 foot.
I stopped at that time as well, and I'm stuck at 5'6".
I stopped at 6 foot, and I was probably almost about 300 pounds,
Whoa.
in 8th grade, and I was a big kid. And it's funny because I used to hang out with a bunch of Pacific Islanders, a lot of Samoans.
Oh, so you fit in perfect.
I fit in perfect. That
Right.
was my little crew.
Because Pacific Islanders are just fat Mexicans.
exactly. So I fit in with them, and we hung out and did whatever we had to do. So I kind of blended in, but I was not athletic at all until I got into high school. And my brothers, Joey the Bull,
Joey the Bull, shout out to you, homie.
Yeah,
We
that's
love
right,
you, man.
That's right. My other brother David in Ahosa, we they were like, well, why don't you play football? And, I never did anything. I'm like, okay, I'll try it.
Yeah.
Went
You'll
out
be
for
good.
the football team. I was the biggest kid on the football team. I was strong. I didn't know how strong I was. I was this big. Did okay. Once my freshman season was over, I didn't really plan on doing anything else. And I think I was in a history class, and I remember there was this big dude came in history class and went to the teacher, and they pulled me out. And I walked with him. He's like, yeah, Coach Gray, which is the wrestling coach for this Santiago High School where I went to, he wants to talk to you. I'm like, okay. Walked over. I'm like, this is a good time I get out of class. I don't know what's going on. So go over there. He's like, hey, you want to join wrestling? I'm like, I didn't know what wrestling was. I'm thinking like OCCW.
Sure.
I grew up watching WWE back
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
WWF back then. So I'm thinking of crazy stuff. I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool. I'm trying to
why not?
think of a gimmick.
Yeah.
And so I get in there, and the first day of practice, I'm like, this is nothing what I thought. And I was getting beat up by the older seniors and juniors in the wrestling team, and I just fell in love with it. It was one of those where it's like it's you're putting in hard work. It's an individual sport,
Absolutely.
and you're just doing work. But yeah, I didn't get into sports until freshman year. Yeah, I got into wrestling, and then from that first day of stepping on the wrestling mat in practice, it totally changed my outlook of everything, and seeing what other people put themselves through. And it's high school level, right?
Yeah, it's a struggle, though.
It's a struggle. It's something, especially if you're coming from a not doing anything at all. I played football. Man, football was fun.
Sure.
It wasn't anything crazy, but you're going through wrestling. You're doing your 4 or 5 mile runs every day. You're doing your 2 to 3 hour practices along with sprints, conditioning, so on and so forth. And from there, it just changed my outlook of what it is that I wanted to do. And I think I did my best. I was highly ranked within my junior, senior of high school.
It's awesome.
Unfortunately, my senior had some little setbacks. I got in trouble. I was ditching here and there
Sure.
in high school. Kids do
Did
that.
plenty of that myself.
Yeah, little
I
injuries.
wrote the book.
Exactly. Had some injuries in the past too. Some ankle injuries, back injuries, which I still suffer from. But it was one of those things where little setback. Once I graduated, I went to San Diego College. I took a wrestling class. They have those, and you get a chance to wrestle with with some of the actual athletes that are there.
Sure.
And so I try to join the team. I worked with them a little bit, and life happens. You know, I had to work. I had to find a place to live.
Yeah, you become an adult,
Exactly.
and you
don't
need to grow
realize
up.
that. Yeah, you have to grow
But
up.
you still have that love for wrestling and the sport.
Definitely,
right?
definitely love for the sport, love for wrestling. As soon as I got out of there, I went directly to coaching. I wanted to still be involved, even though I couldn't.
Yeah,
compete
those
anymore.
that can no longer do become great coaches.
Exactly, and I couldn't compete anymore. You know, in that level. So I went into coaching. I assistant coach for my high school.
Very nice.
I-
Affecting the youth, which is what we were
Exactly.
talking about earlier.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Slowly went from there. I started working with not to a point with Mike Guyman.
Yeah.
Mike
Joker.
Guyman.
Joker
there was
Mike Guyman.
My brother Joey.
UFC fighter.
Exactly. UFC fighter, one of the tap out crews, right?
That's right. He's an early guy, right?
Early guy, yeah. Wonderful human being. I love that guy. That guy's amazing.
Sure.
Joey the Bull, he knew him, so
Joey knows a lot of people.
he knows a lot of people, which
We
is
can go-
weird.
that's a whole other show,
That
and
is.
we'll go into that another day. We were going to do that first, but I got to know Gabe, and we pulled Gabe in first, so
Right on.
it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But the practicality of wrestling, the mechanisms involved, the technique, I could see that for a kid that wasn't athletic, and you're like, whoa, I can do all that with
Right.
my body,
Right.
and you're heavier at that time, so you start shedding weight.
I shed a lot. I shed about 100 pounds within a year and a half.
So you become more of who you actually are because you're not carrying around all that
Right,
baggage, right?
right.
So you become yourself. It's an awkward time period. You're 14, 15 years old as a freshman, and you start looking at girls, right?
Right,
You start
right,
looking
right.
at yourself, so you're developing, right?
Exactly,
So all that
exactly,
makes you
right.
want to push. And coming from
Right.
football, you push guys around fine.
Oh, right, yeah.
But wrestling's way more technical.
Way more technical.
The takedowns, putting
Definitely.
someone on their back, right? It's different than tackling
You know,
someone.
the beauty of going to school where I went to at Santiago High School.
Yeah.
The coach, he was a big guy, 215, solid muscle. Looked like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And he was very technical. And the way he taught his classes or taught the program was technique over strength. Even though he was strong,
Yeah.
he would always use technique. And I teach that to this day. I teach technique over strength all the time. I'm a strong guy. I'm a big guy.
Sure.
If I'm still wrestling, I'm still considered a heavyweight. I like to look at my style of wrestling as doing technique over straight all day. And I know when I came into your class the other day,
You did. You
very
did a wonderful
similar,
job.
right?
Yeah, we can always lay on someone, even at my weight. I'm about
Exactly,
a $185 or so, and I can lay on
Right.
someone, but I'm not going to
Easy.
grow technically, right?
Exactly,
I got
exactly.
to let them sometimes get the best of me. I'll be in deep water, work my way out of it, and so forth.
Definitely.
If I put them in, I let them work out. You know,
Right.
so that's how we grow. That's how we learn.
100%.
Laying on someone just isn't going to work.
Right, and I took that with that technique over strength. Started to coach. I started coaching in Costa Mesa at
Yeah,
the.
it's great experience, great opportunities.
Great, yeah,
They just
definitely.
kind of lent themselves. Is something you pursue?
They're out there, and having the opportunity of working with some of the kids that weren't able to afford. My brother and I, we started within the Walking Tall Foundation, which
That's
no
really
longer
cool.
exists, but
Yeah.
we started Bring the Pain MMA camp.
Yeah.
My brother would teach boxing, and I would teach wrestling. And during this time, I started doing jiu-jitsu as well, so I would bring a little bit what I learned from jiu-jitsu.
It changes your game when you come from a wrestling perspective because the pin is so important.
Oh, yes.
Right? You don't
yes.
want to go on your back.
Yes. Funny story on that. When I first started doing jiu-jitsu, I would train with Mike Guyman here and there. Couple of his classes when he opened up his Joker's Wild MMA back in the day.
Where was that at? Irvine?
This was in Lake Forest.
Lake
off
Forest, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I went there a few times. Had the opportunity to train with him and his team was fantastic. Much respect to that guy. When I started to train in Garden Grove, my buddy is like, hey, I'm gonna go out to NAM. I had no idea what NAM was. This was at NAM's peak when he was in the Ultimate Fighter.
Got it.
And I didn't really fall to Ultimate Fighter, so I'm like, all right, cool, we'll go in. And it was a Garden Grove guy. He went to the same school district I went to.
Nam is our local boy. We love Nam.
Yes,
I
Nam-
love seeing him on Ultimate
Right,
Fighter, an OC
right.
kid, grew up, became a professional fighter.
Definitely,
Went to
yeah.
the top.
Respect for him.
Nothing but
still,
respect.
He's still doing what he has to do.
He was
which
our
is great.
first Gym Crasher episode, so again, props to Nam
That's awesome.
and his team because they are great people.
Yeah. So I started training out of there, and the funny story is when I first went in there, I was one of the biggest guys there, and had a wrestling background. I was starting to coach more, so I felt pretty strong. I'm like,
Yeah.
I could just take these
You're
guys.
a dangerous
down, lay on
dude.
them, right? And I remember I rolled with one of his blue belts, Kenny, and took him down, and Kenny caught me in something. I'm like, what just happened? I'm like, super humbling because I'm a
Sure.
big guy. Kenny was probably maybe 150, 160 pounds or something back then, and definitely was very, very humbling because he caught me with with ease. No real strength used at all, which was crazy.
Yeah,
but
that's technique, and you know what
Yes.
you do? You catch people slipping, right?
yes, exactly.
It's it's all position based, and someone leaves something dangling, you take it,
right. 100%. Yes.
right?
Yes.
Space?
I had too much space.
No, that's his nickname, right, Kenny?
Yes.
And then a spaceman or space something.
Spaceman, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Kenny
Kenny
He
Quatch.
Spaceman.
fought. Yeah, Kenny. He fought for Long Beach Fight Night.
Okay, very
Yeah,
cool.
did.
He's
Well,
fought at
shout
Long
out to
Beach
Kenny
Fight Night.
Spaceman
He's a
for
little
fighting at
dude,
Long Beach
bro.
Fight Night.
Right?
He's, a little,
He's legit though.
Yeah,
that
yeah, I
guy
know.
caught
I know.
caught me a few times. Even when I started to practice more, he was still catching me. He's legit. I don't think he fights anymore, but shout out to Kenny. But that's where I learned a lot of the. I think my road to jiu-jitsu from wrestling. I think wrestling definitely changed my outlook of life and how. Wrestlers put a lot in.
They sure do.
And even if you're at a high level, those
It's a
guys
discipline.
are dedicated. Yeah. And me, I was at a JC level, and I did high school JC level, but I knew what hard work was, right? And then when I got into jujitsu, it definitely changed my outlook and everything else because it was very humbling. And I did jujitsu for probably 5 to 6 years, on and off here and there. And NAM, I was NAM's blue belt, and I felt like I did a lot to kind of get that too as well. And
That takes a lot.
it does, and it was very, very humbling experience. And I still take jujitsu, and I don't tell anybody I do jujitsu because I'm a wrestler at heart, right? And I just kind of focus on wrestling. But I think jujitsu is a fantastic sport where it's the combination of wrestling and jujitsu. When you put it in together, it's more of like it gets you to a point where you're on that line where you know where pain is and when you're sacrifice
through it, right?
pushing through. And I think that's the beauty of grappling overall. You know,
Yeah, you learn where your limits are
exactly,
and how to put the pressure on to get the other
100%.
person to crack.
100%.
And the interesting thing with UFC is that they've exposed this art, jiu-jitsu, and it has grown and evolved and changed so much from the days of Hoist Gracie.
Right.
Because wrestling is now a part of it.
Yes.
And sambo is now a part of it, and judo is now a part of it,
Catch wrestling.
right? And catch
Got
wrestling
Josh
too.
Burnett doing those catch wrestling. Those
So
things,
if you
right?
combine all those elements and then jiu-jitsu itself betters itself because it's constantly growing, it has evolved into something entirely different where it was Gracie jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Now I just see jiu-jitsu.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it has expanded beyond what it came here to this country
Definitely.
as, right? And
Definitely.
that happens. You come to America and things change, man.
Right.
They
100%.
make it even better.
100%.
So the Japanese created jiu-jitsu. Maeda, Jigoro Kano, what was his name? Jigoro Kano. Kano, Maeda brought it here to this country.
Mhm.
The Brazilians adapted it, changed it to a street style,
Modified it,
right?
yes.
Modified it.
Right.
Elio, being weak,
Right.
was able to strengthen himself and his technique
Right.
based upon those weaknesses more so than Carlos or the other brothers.
Definitely.
And then you bring it here to America after the dictatorship ends in Brazil, and it just grows into this UFC thing, which we now know is it's a high level of fighting, right?
Right,
The highest
right.
level we know of hand-to-hand combat in a sport environment.
Right.
You know, so it's amazing what jiu-jitsu has done, and it's becoming more mainstream.
Right.
It is absolutely, especially here in California. I know it's maybe not in the rural parts of the country, but any big city around the United States,
It's growing.
it's huge.
It's growing. You look at those 10th Planet guys. There's 10th Planet everywhere.
There is 10th
All
Planet.
over the world.
It's a global
Yes.
company
global-
now,
yes,
right?
yes,
It's a global name, and they've grown with UFC.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
kind of amazing. And then guys like Chris Brennan out in Texas that are just changing the game.
Right.
That dude rolls like no other person I see.
He's a beast.
You know,
He's a beast.
so next
yeah.
generation and Chris Brennan, they're just
Right.
something else. So yeah, there's dudes out there that are changing the game
Right.
entirely.
Right.
So you do high school wrestling, you move on, you do the junior college scene. You're able to make a living on your martial art, really.
Yeah.
Wrestling is still a martial art. You still
It's-
got to use those takedowns to beat someone down.
Definitely
You know?
a martial art. It's definitely it's something I think it's very important. Like you said, the adaptation of old MMA to now.
Yep.
I think it was Pat Miletich.
Those
he
guys
was-
were key. Iowa,
he was
those
a beat.
guys.
Those
come
Iowa,
on.
Iowa boys are ridiculous
That
because
is
they
the-
use that. Yeah.
That's the cornerstone for wrestlers. You know, you make it from the high school level into the Division I guys,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You go to Iowa, Nebraska. Isn't that
Yeah.
what it's all about?
Yes, all
Eating
about-
corn and
It's all those areas. Minnesota, it's ridiculous there right now. Even Oklahoma.
yeah,
You
chucking
know,
bales of hay and then going out and wrestling, right?
Exactly. But yeah, you take that into that aspect of it. I didn't really get into the MMA scene with fighting. I did some pancreations here and there. My main focus was coaching. I've always been the behind the scene guy.
That's
of
cool.
Coaching.
That's a noble thing to
Yeah.
help others to achieve what they
Exactly,
want to, right?
exactly. I never had the desire to go out and fight MMA. I did, like I said, did old school pancreation matches back in the day. which were fun, but I never really had the complete desire to do it.
That's still more than the average person. So
Right.
I always commend people that compete at some level because you have to challenge the skill level that you've earned.
Right, exactly.
And the only way to know is to put it on
Is
the
to
line.
do it.
right?
Exactly, exactly.
So the people that don't, I question that. I'm like, well, you learned all this, and I get it. You can
Right.
protect yourself, but are
Right.
you sure?
Right.
Or are you just going to panic? Because there's 3 steps now that people often talk about: fight or flight, and I agree 100%. But there's a third part of that equation that they don't talk about much. You can fight. We all know that. We train hard for that. And you can run. Give yourself time, sock them in the face, take them down, whatever you got to do, and then
Right,
take off.
right.
But some people freeze.
They do.
forget that
And
that component.
That is, thank you for bringing that up because there's within the coaching, the field I've been in for over almost 15 years.
yeah. It's your
Um,
job, man. It's your life.
Yeah, and you know, it's something that you see quite often. You see people coming into the gym that they want to be fighters, I want to be an MMA guy, and they're tough looking dudes.
Sure.
And you know, I even say this the other day. If I have people coming in, I have a few people that just came in recently, a brother and sister. Brenda and Christian Gonzalez, and they came in and they're you know, they want to be fighters. I'm like, okay, well, they're jiu-jitsu practitioners. Also, her brother Christian, he's a wrestler, and I'm like, well, we'll see this. We'll have you guys spar, and usually people want to be fighters when they get hit in the face, they
Yeah.
freeze. They don't know how to handle
Sure.
that.
That's a heavy one.
And,
Impact
you know,
is a heavy thing to deal with.
Exactly, and you know, I think that's the main thing. You see a lot of these big tough guys coming in, think they want to fight, and they go to that freezing portion where they actually get into a sparring position. Somebody knows how to fight.
Sure.
And once they get tagged, they don't want to do it. They don't show up the next day.
Yeah, they've not learned to move either. The footwork involved with sparring,
Right.
Not just you throw your best punch and you admire it, and they cross you, on the face or something, then you're stunned.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
got to keep moving.
Yeah, they did fantastic coming in. They took some punches and they kept coming back.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the beauty of it. But you know, you see that with big guys doing that, and like Tommy Ferguson. You
Yeah.
know, that's my big brother right there, and he.
Yeah. It's all of our big brother. Even
Yes.
as my big little brother, but he's our big brother.
Exactly. He's one of those guys where I look at him and I went to the Ultimate Fighter tryout thing with him.
Amazing.
And I see these dudes and I see him hitting pads. I'm like, he's on another level,
Yeah.
you know. And he respects jiu-jitsu, but he's not a jiu-jitsu practitioner. He
Yeah.
would tell you that too. He respects it. He knows the game. A lot of people don't think he knows the game because he does all stand up.
Absolutely.
But you know, he's one of those guys where he's on another level, you know, and to see a big guy move that fast, especially with
It's
striking,
amazing.
it's ridiculous. And I worked with him with wrestling. He's one of the guys. I brought him up because he was one of my main guys where I started with, you know,
Yeah.
and
That's a tough place to begin. Not
right.
to interrupt this, but
No, no,
Tommy
no.
Ferguson has an episode with us, so look it up on YouTube. Gym Crashers with Tommy Ferguson, because he has an interesting background. He grew up in Hawaii. Hawaii
Waianae,
is
yeah.
not just all aloha. Sometimes you grow up tough, depending on which side of
Right.
the island you grow up on. He grew up in Waianae, Nanakuli, Maile. The west side of the island is a tough side, and he grew up fighting. And when he became the toughest guy on the island, he moved to the mainland, and he's
Right.
showing people how tough
And
he is here.
He's
So
definitely tough, yeah.
as
so,
you know, you're training with this guy, and he's an amazing striker. His Muay Thai is on point. His combos are real simple.
crazy.
You know what I mean? But
Yes.
they're amazing. Yeah.
They're amazing. He's fast.
Yes.
When I first met him, I was like, "You're the heavyweight version of like a Roy Jones Jr." Because he
Yeah.
throw that slap jab. He was very, very quick, and mixing it up with wrestling. Right. I started adding some wrestling with him. Mainly, my main focus for him was doing basic takedowns and takedown defense. And you know, I worked with him for I think it's over about 7 years on and off. And you know, it's just one of those things to see him develop as an overall package. And you know, we're just hoping, praying one day he gets a fight. So I think
Absolutely.
that's the main goal.
And he's looking for a fight. So
He
those
is.
people that are watching, man, we got a heavyweight. Is he heavyweight?
He's a heavyweight.
Yeah.
He's a heavyweight,
So he's a heavyweight
Yeah.
ready to go.
If
Robert.
if you watch his jabs, they come from the inside out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, slap jab.
Yeah.
So, which is confusing to a lot of people. It's not a straightforward jab. It releases from his elbow out instead of coming all the way from his face sometimes. So drop his hand. He'll use that shoulder roll to block and lead off and deflect punches. That way, like when he deflects, he comes back really quickly to throw his combination back at people. So he's a very interesting spar.
He is.
I watch him. I'm like, that's really confusing for a lot of people. They don't know it. Not only that, because of the angle, if he touches you on the opposite side of your face, it turns your head. So once you turn your head, you got to bring it back to get eyesight again, which means that straight right's coming right down the pipe. And by that time, it might be too late.
Definitely
And
with his
it's hard.
power. It might-
Yeah.
yeah. One of those touchy, you're probably gonna go to sleep.
Yeah, for those of us that spar for fun and use technique with our training partners, when you step into the ring or on the mat with Tommy Ferguson, you suddenly learn how quick and how important pivoting and
Right.
changing angles is, because he constantly does it.
He does.
And he does it off of that jab, or he does it off of a cross, and all of a sudden he's out of range, and you're like,
Right.
I barely can reach him as it is. If I close the distance, I'm in trouble. If I stay
Yes.
out of my range, I'm in trouble because he can reach me.
Right.
So he's a very interesting person to spar with.
And the thing is too, if he doesn't want, if he feels like he needs to go to the ground, if he ever does,
Yeah.
he's a beast on the ground. He can take people down. He's worked on his takedowns, worked on jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
He's an overall package. Let me tell you.
Hey, I can tell you this. One interesting thing is that when we roll, oftentimes it's already understood we bump hands, and we're rolling to learn.
Yeah.
And I know he carries that attitude. It's a beautiful thing because he isn't out to hurt anybody when we're training.
Right, right.
But the man rolls so aggressively, he'll roll right into a submission.
Right.
And before you even change position, he's got something he's not going to let go of.
100%, yeah.
He's teaching you a lesson. Don't be slacking. So hats off to Tommy that he makes us all step our game up.
Right
man.
on. Makes me. 'Cause
Right?
I roll with that guy every time
Right?
with him.
So you know,
I
you
do
can't
know.
be slacking when you got a guy like that. He's an animal on top of you,
He
man.
is,
So
he
he's
is.
amazing.
And
Robert.
he doesn't mind going to the body at all.
He
Oh,
doesn't.
no.
He doesn't.
It's
He
important,
doesn't.
He
right?
goes to the body, leans off his opposite weighted side, so he can pivot off for the punch for the counters, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you meet Tommy. You guys have been training together. Did you meet at House of Gyms or somewhere
No,
else?
I actually met Tommy at NANFM MMA, and Tommy used to train there for a little bit, for a few months there, and I met him on it was a Sunday morning roll, and he was preparing for a fight. I think he had a fight coming up, or he was supposed to have a fight coming up, something like that. And Coach Nam asked if I can help with like doing wrestling, and I just from there it worked. He asked me, hey, can you teach me some stuff? Can you coach me here and there?
That's
and,
cool.
And it led from there. And it's been about 7 years. We had a full on. We had a good relationship for a little while, and then we both have we're both married. We both have kids, so we have to kind of go and do our family thing. And recently, probably maybe 6 months or so ago, we kind of reconnected. We were kind of gone for maybe a little over a year.
It happens, man.
And
Life happens.
Life
right?
happens, and again, it does happen. So we got back maybe about 6 or 7 months ago, and putting in more focus, more work, and which is cool because I was kind of at a stage in my life where I didn't know if I want to coach anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm suffering through injuries, so on and so forth, and he hit me up out of nowhere and brought me into the House of Gyms, and it's been a blessing actually.
That's awesome.
We have some good fighters there. Mark Macias, he's one of our guys that we're trying to get him a pro fight soon. Cesar Macias, he's the Muay Thai coach that's there, one of Tommy's coaches as well. And then we have, like I said, we have Brenda Gonzalez and Christian Gonzalez, which are up and comer fighters. We're trying to get them going.
A lot of talent there.
A lot of talent there. We have some guys that we're trying to build up. So it's been a blessing in disguise, and I'm thankful every time I get a chance to step on the mat because it's home for me. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
And Raul owns the place, right?
Yes.
Raul actually
Yes.
trained with Delo Jiu-Jitsu, so a lot of guys that have places here in Orange County, I've found some kind of tie back to John Delo. If you trained early in the, sometime in the 90s or even the 2000s, early part of UFC, John
Right.
Delo, if you're in Orange County, probably touched hands with you at some point.
Right on.
You know what I mean? And it's an amazing thing with Raul, too.
Pioneer. Here you go.
Yeah, he's one of the pioneers. So it's good that these things are growing and continuing to spread, and that people
100%.
come from certain beginnings and then they make it their own.
Right. Definitely.
It's really cool.
Definitely. Yeah.
So you're at House of Gyms. Where can people find House of Gyms?
House of Gyms is it's in Orange. It's off of Catella. I don't have the cleat address,
That's
but
right.
it's off of Catella and 55. If you're going off of Catella, hit up 55, get off, and go past Tustin.
Is it
And
Orange Circle? Is it that
it's,
area?
It's past Orange Circle.
Okay.
Again, it's if you just type in House of Gyms, I think there's only one House of Gyms that's here.
Yeah, I
in
think so,
Orange,
too.
In Orange, so that's where I'm at. Usually there Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturday mornings. Mondays and Wednesdays, myself along with the team, we're there from about 7:30 to about 9:30.
Cool.
And then Saturday mornings is the spar day. Usually every day is a spar day with these guys, but Saturday mornings we're there from about 10:45, 10:30 to about 12:30 as well. So we really put some work in. We're trying to focus mainly on building our MMA team up.
Smart.
So a lot of Muay Thai with wrestling MMA. That's what I like to focus on a lot because you can't really necessarily do like collegiate wrestling.
No, it's a different game.
different.
Wrestling for MMA is a different type of wrestling.
Definitely,
You're taking
definitely.
certain aspects that are going to get you where you need to go to put the fight where you want it.
Right. And that's what I like to teach my guys, seeing with my trial and error of coaching and also wrestling with some MMA guys when I would kind of work with Mike Guyman back in the day here and there, and I would get caught in these certain submissions. I really try to focus on my game as utilizing wrestling.
It's your
MMA.
strength, so it makes perfect sense.
Exactly. So, again, people that are interested, come on in, learn a new technique.
Yeah.
And which is beautiful because martial arts overall is a beautiful game. So
Yeah, sometimes you just make a change in your game, like learning something a little bit different, like wrestling, and it'll change your takedowns.
Definitely.
It'll change your ability to hold position.
it makes you more confident stand up too, because
That's right.
if you're a striker, it's like I talked about with Tommy. He's amazing with striking, but him learning how to take down defense.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like the Chuck Liddell thing.
Yeah.
Chuck Liddell was he's a wrestler, but he
Yeah.
has great defense. He keeps
Sure.
he keeps the fight on his feet. So. I use that with my guys that I train now. Like, my goal is to keep from getting taken down. If you get taken down, then we'll transition from there.
Yeah,
Try to
and,
get back
and
up, so.
wrestlers know distance very well, not just boxers. Boxers, they're experts in knowing distance in
Right.
their strike zone. Wrestlers also know where they're going to shoot and where they need to get out of that striking range. So
Angles.
they're also
All about angles,
very,
yeah.
very dangerous too. Those are
Definitely.
things that need to be known,
Right.
and a whole different perspective because you're setting yourself up for the takedown, not
Right.
just for shots.
Right,
You know,
right. And we work. We're hopefully trying to transition a little bit more with getting some more jiu-jitsu also within there. We have I think it's a GFT grappling fight team that's
Yeah.
out of there as well.
I heard about that.
There was a guy that we kind of work with that also works with GFT that I've been trying to focus a little bit more time with wrestling.
Cool.
So hopefully that opens up some doors so
Yeah.
we can, I don't promote myself as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, which I've done jiu-jitsu, but I promote myself more as a wrestler. And that will kind of transition from MMA also into jiu-jitsu as
So
well,
smart.
right? Keeping yourself safe. So hopefully one of these days, if that works out, we can have a door that opens that way as well.
yeah, I hope so
And-
because I
and-
like working with you guys myself, and
Right
I
on.
do consider myself a jiu-jitsu practitioner
There
and
you go.
coach.
Awesome. Yes. I love
We've
teaching.
already
so.
been working together, so it's a
Definitely.
good thing that we got going. And Tommy's, working here with me. You've been over here, so we love that. We love that relationship because we can share ideas and grow.
Right on.
So
That works.
very happy to meet. And it took time. Like I knew Joey, but I never knew you. So happy to know his brother
There you
now.
go.
and,
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I've always when Tommy started coming down here, I'm like, yeah, let me go down there one of these.
course.
But like I said, I have a family, I have kids,
Yeah.
and it's tough to kind of step away when you
I know it.
I work 8 days a week or 8 days a week, so it's
Yeah.
sorry, not 8 days a week, 8 hours a day.
8 days a week is proper because
That
that's
is.
what we all do,
Yes,
right?
8
We're
hours
always
a
in
day.
overtime.
Yes, 8 hours a day, and I want to spend the time with my kids. So
Yeah, I hear
sometimes
you.
I can go, sometimes I can't. But I was fortunate enough to come in on.
Oh, we love having
last
you, man.
week, so
It's all
hopefully,
good.
if that's something you guys are interested in, I'm down
Oh,
to
yeah.
help with wrestling and so on and so forth. So
Anytime.
cool.
Anytime you want to come here, you need me over there, you tell me. I'd
sure,
be happy
for
to go
sure.
show a couple
Cool.
things to you guys. But so where are you at now? You're at House of Gyms. You're training with Tommy. Anything on the forefront? You got any fights coming up?
Right now our main focus is trying to get these guys ready and get them prepped, make sure they're in tip top for whatever we have coming up. Like I said, we have two amateur fighters with Brenda and Christian Gonzalez. We're really trying to focus on Brenda, and they both train out of Checkmat in Corona with Jimmy. Coach Jimmy out there, and they're really good jiu-jitsu practitioners. Christian's a really good wrestler.
Sure.
Right now, we're trying to really focus on getting them set up for MMA. So myself, along with the other staff, we're really trying to focus on getting them into that realm of MMA transition.
Sure. That's a tough thing sometimes,
That is.
right?
It's very, very tough. So hopefully, we're within the next end of the year, we'll have something set up for them. Mark Macias, the Muay Thai coach, Caesar's son, he's a great striker. I've been really focusing a lot of time with wrestling and also defense and so on and so forth. We kind of do a little bit of role transition with jiu-jitsu as well. We're trying to get him on track to get into something. We're trying to go to pro, getting him a pro card fight. And then, my main thing right now, because he's my big brother, he brought me into this as well, is trying to get Tommy something.
That's right.
We're really focusing.
I'm on that same wagon. I
Yeah,
want to get Tommy something.
Exactly. We were in contact with some guys here in some of the bigger organizations, and hopefully something can pull through and we can get something for him, because
I'm sure it'll happen. We got to get that word out. That's what it's
Definitely.
all about, right?
Definitely, yeah, and it's a beautiful thing once he gets out there, and I want to see him shine, because he definitely deserves to shine right
Yeah,
now. So
he's ready to go.
Putting in the work for sure.
We got a fighter that's ready to throw. So any of
Definitely.
the promoters or any of the people that put fight cards together. If you're scouting out people, hit us up.
Definitely.
Instagram, gym.crashers.
Yeah.
We'll get you in touch with Tommy Ferguson.
100%, yeah.
You know.
And House of Gyms, they're fantastic. They're allowing us to do our program in there, or doing our building up our MMA team in there. So they're doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Hopefully, or they are doing it for us. Hopefully soon we'll start to kind of build up more of a marketing, and maybe get some people that are really committed to fighting in there.
Smart.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
That's what it's all about. That's that next level. We train people when you get to that level where they're competing and fighting.
Right.
That's really the big reward, you know.
Right.
Because it takes a team. Oftentimes, fighting can be a very isolated thing. It's you fighting yourself and all of those things that hold you back. But your coaches push you over that, and your training partners get you over those humps.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely. And I think right now we have a small team, but everybody puts work in.
The teams are
And
amazing
that's
over
the
there.
beautiful
Yeah.
thing about it. Everybody puts that work in, and we're pushing each other to get to where we need to be. And like I said, with a bit more commitment and more work we're putting in, even with some of the marketing on the gym side, hopefully we get some more people to come in and kind of help push us even more. So
Yeah, in my understanding, House of Gyms, it's a one-stop shop. So you have a wrestling coach designated and dedicated to just wrestling. You got your striking coaches,
Right.
Muay Thai, and then you got a boxing coach, right? And then, of course, Jiu-Jitsu with GFT.
they got GFT in there. They have a Korobot in there, which is he's
heavy,
staged
man.
out. That's heavy right there. So it's a full-on place to anybody that wants to learn. And again, we're just trying to develop, and we're really focusing on working with House of Gyms to kind of a lot of gyms don't want to really necessarily have fight teams, but we with Coach Caesar and with Tommy being there and his son having fight
makes sense, man.
experience, and then bringing me in there, which is a good portion, a good little piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of tools, a lot of teachers there to kind of help sharpen the tools, I should say.
It makes sense. You mentioned a young man that's coming out of Checkmat and Corona, seeking out help with
Right.
you guys in Orange. That's a
Right.
big deal to travel, 30
exactly.
miles or so to get
Exactly.
some
Like a
more experience.
25-minute drive, 30-minute
Right?
drive, yeah.
And it's not fun driving that
No.
91. So
No,
clearly
no.
they're offering a level of instruction and putting together teams that make a difference. You have good training partners,
Right.
great coaching to make someone want to travel that far to make it happen, right?
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
So that's great. It's good to hear about House of Gyms doing that. Anything else personal? What are you doing for work right now?
Besides coaching, I kind of dabble here and there in some things. I'm a massage therapist.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I
Hey, in the jiu-jitsu world, we can never use enough of that,
Definitely,
right?
definitely, yeah.
So people hit them up. What's your Instagram?
Instagram is G Hinojosa, GHINOJOZA.
You're looking for massage. That's the man.
Right. I'm a massage therapist, and I also am a massage instructor.
Heavy.
I'm a neuromuscular therapist instructor.
Super important. Even for a guy like me, I'm super injured at the moment, so
Right,
we talked.
right.
So
We definitely
love
talk.
that.
Yeah. So I work in Santa Ana, fantastic school, Nationalistic Institute. And one of my program managers, like I said, we talked about, she's a Brazilian, and she actually has history. She's actually worked with the Gracie family in Brazil
Awesome.
before, which is really cool. So she's
To touch hands with the people that basically refined it, reinvented it
definitely
for what it is. That's really cool.
Definitely. So she's a big mentor in my life within massage and neuromuscular therapy. So that's what I do for a living.
It's heavy, man. I like that.
So it's I like to, again.
It's hand in hand with what you do passionately for
Right.
your secondary job,
Definitely.
your hobby.
I'm a coach. I love coaching. I love to help people.
Yeah.
So what I do, just like you said, I love helping and trying to make people feel better.
It's very focused, and I like that. I like that the relationship between what you do professionally and what you do outside of work to help other people reach their goals.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
huge, man. It's
Yeah.
a very noble thing that you do each day when you wake up and help other people. I
That's
like
what
that.
I try. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah.
And people should, I think that's something everyone should strive for, right?
Right. And
That makes the world a better place.
That's definitely what I'm striving for. And like I said, I have 2 kids, and I want them to show, hey, don't you can put yourself in front of everybody, which is fine, but like, again, end of the day is you want to help people out overall.
Very
I
cool.
think that's what love is. So helping people out. So.
How old are the kids? What's their names?
Brandon Hinojosa and Owen Hinojosa. Brandon is 6 and Owen is 4.
Woo,
Soon to be
getting
7
there.
and 5. So yeah, they're getting there. It makes me feel older every day.
Oh, me too,
looking
man.
at them. So they're little beast. My oldest, he says he wants to start to wrestle. So that's something that we got to talk about later in
Yeah.
the future. It's just one of those things. It's kind of hard to coach your kids.
It
so,
is.
I'm looking out for any type of youth coaches that are out there.
Yeah.
If you know anybody, if you are one, hit me up.
Yeah.
And put my kid in something else.
You just got to get them those that base in wrestling.
Definitely,
It's so
yeah.
important, right? To love it
It's-
and to not think of it as too much of the combat stuff at first with kids. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah,
you don't want them
yeah.
taking people out at recess or anything like
No,
that.
no, no, yeah,
But
yeah.
they definitely need to know those skills because somebody else is going to have those skills. Right?
And it's
Protect
hard work.
yourself.
It's hard work. So I think that's the value
That's
of
the
it.
key, right? So
Yeah.
the value of working hard for something and striving for those results, I think that's a character builder and something that carries you through life.
Definitely.
Because we're thrown so much stuff. I mean, every day is a new battle of something. Every time every one of us wakes up, it's rise and grind, and whatever life throws at us. I really think that hand-to-hand fighting, combat base, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, whatever it may be, martial arts, it not only teaches you discipline, but it really does help you with those life obstacles that come at you. You
It
know how to
does.
grind through it, right?
It
We talked
does.
about pressure,
Yeah.
and we talked a little bit about knowing your limits. And as a martial artist, you may actually know how to push through those things in life too.
That's,
right?
I think that is
Better,
one of the
better
values.
ability to adapt
Right.
and change
That's
and,
that.
and
You hit it on
approach
the,
things, right?
Hit it on the head right there. That's one of the big things I took out of wrestling is learning how to push through when times are hard. Right.
Yeah, and there's plenty of 'em.
Just struggling through it, and and life, like you said, it's always going to throw something at you, and
Yeah.
as long as you're able to push through it, I think that's the most important thing, and that's what I learned from wrestling. So.
Yeah, and get involved with the dojo. I mean, it's a secondary family for me. I've been through some of the toughest times in my life, and Delo Jiu-Jitsu has been there for me. You go through a divorce, I still go train, crying my eyes out, slugging it out with the guys, and go home, and I'm so beat up, I have no more time to worry about life.
Right.
I have to recover, so I sleep, I go to work, and do it all over again.
Right.
And it kept me alive
Yeah.
through very tough times, and not just that, with other things, So the journey that you have in your training, whether it be jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, whatever it is, and the life that you have that goes along with those years that you put in, when you look back, it is an amazing story in itself. Every single training partner has a story because
do.
life hits them
Right.
while we're training and learning and becoming better at what we do.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's the beauty of martial arts is you can, like you said, it helps you, and it's its own therapist in a way.
Sure
Right?
is.
Go out there and do some work.
And oftentimes it's not my opponent I'm fighting against, it's myself.
It's yourself.
Right?
Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
Getting your diet right, getting your exercise routine in, and then if you're going to spar at your best, if you're going to roll at your best, you have to have yourself at your best. And
Definitely.
it's all those other factors that detract you from doing that, and
Right.
injuries on top of it. Right.
Right.
Managing all of that.
Oh yeah, you're
know?
never gonna come out this sport not injured.
Yeah.
You're gonna have something happening.
Yeah.
Even through training camps is the same thing.
Yep.
Is you're always gonna be injured. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not to wrap this up too soon, I want to give a shout out to Joey the Bull for
Hey.
your brother being here. He's an awesome guy. We definitely need to get you on. CMMA Southgate, CMMA Gardena, thank you very much for having me this morning out at Southgate Park, representing the community and bringing jiu-jitsu to the kids. We love that. This has been an episode of Gym Crashers, a special edition. It is July 4th, so happy birthday, America.
Happy
And
birthday.
Thank you to everyone that's watching. Please like us, subscribe to us, and share the link because other people need to know what we're doing. We will be at House of Gyms very, very soon to actually do a Gym Crashers episode and see what these guys are about firsthand so that you can actually see it on YouTube. So again, thank you so much,
No
Gabe.
problem. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure to meet you, Mr.
Pleasure to meet you as
Hinojosa.
well, sir. Thank you.
And this has been another episode of Gym Crashers Live. Check us out.